If Jesus was alive today, he might be on that gang list. Hold on, before everybody gets to tripping, just hear me out real quick. Just real quick. Because if you really look at some of the similarities of the path Jesus walked, the actions he did, and what he stood for, in true context, not just going off of what everybody's assumption is, but actually looking at what it says and applying basic psychology to it. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. He left Bethlehem around 2 years old to escape a tyrant king. So Joseph, he took Mary and baby Jesus to Egypt, where they lived he was about 12 years old. And Jews back then were kind of looked at like, well, minorities or black people are today in America. I know there's going to be somebody out there, oh, it's not the same thing. I know it's not the same thing. That's obvious. But there's parallels here that I think really need to be looked at. They're over persecuted. They're known to be the aggressive ones and all that. Okay, so now he grows up. He's a prophet. We're gonna overlook the lost years and all them other things. That's another story for another day. But he's going place to place healing people. That means he's helping people get better tax-free. That's already a charge right there, is if you're doing any type of healing work or doctor work without a license or approval for the government, they're not really feeling that. They had other healers at the time, but they all worked for the states or the government, and he really wasn't on that side. He was about more world peace, everybody being cool with each other type thing, not just somebody ruling over somebody all the time. That's kind of the gist of this thing. So people like that are a threat to the powers, and people in power want to maintain their power by any means necessary. Him and his disciples would be labeled a gang today. If he was going up and standing up against anything today, they would be labeled a gang or a terrorist group or something like that. Especially with the George Floyd thing a couple of years ago, up until before then, he would have been on that with the police. He would have really been on that. He wouldn't. You think he's just gonna sit there? No. Even a lot of people like to use that passage about him turning the other cheek, and I've read that passage, and you got to read things in context. Context really matters, because he was talking about if someone was possessed by a spirit, by a bad spirit, meaning if they're not in control of themselves and they hit you, turn the other cheek. But when he went into Jerusalem, flipping them tables and driving the merchants out, they kind of knew what they was doing. So he's got this philosophy about people standing up for themselves, worshiping God, and just healing and helping everyone around him. It's when they say he died for our sins. Okay, not disagreeing with you on that. But the government killed him. Yeah, but he died for our sins. Listen, the government killed him. All he had to do was just be like, no, I'm not God. But he truly, in his heart of hearts, and the people around him truly in their heart of hearts believed he was God, or he was God reincarnated, or something of that nature. So then after he dies, his philosophy was put in a book they call the Bible, and became the best-selling book in the world. See, right here I could make a killer point. Yeah, he died and the government had killed him, and then they altered the books to make a bunch of money, da-da-da-da-da. That's actually not where I'm going to go with this. I could easily say something such as Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, John F. Kennedy. All of them are wonderful men, by the way. But that's not where I'm going to go with this comparison, too. because they didn't leave a philosophy. Well, they did, but they didn't leave it in a best-selling book. But what about Tupac when he died, or even like Biggie Smalls or Young Dolph? Like, there's a bunch of it's so crazy that when people got street credibility and they die with a something to hold their philosophy in, it just seems to skyrocket. Like, seriously, really think about it. He spoke in parables too. Like, the man spoke in parables. They didn't have studios back then. But if they did, I mean, Jesus would be in the booth. And then he running around with his disciples like that. Like, bro, he really just sound like your average African American today. Like, there's no, I don't know how else you can discern it. I think this is why so much of it was taken out or adjusted or misinterpreted on purpose to like justify slavery and stuff like that. But I digress. Yeah, he would have been a Willie Lloyd, a Jeff Ford, a Raymond Washington, a Tookie Williams, a Larry Hoover. He would have been something, bro. Like, he would have been something like that. Cause I mean, really look at it, man. Like, really look at it. If he was born in like the 70s or the 80s, if he was born in the 90s, he might, I don't see, like, if you really look at it and truly look at it for what it is and stop taking all the BS that they put on it. They're like, like, he died by the government. Oh, he died for our sins. And then why can we still sin? Like, come on, bro. Like, really think about it. Put it all together for a second. I'm not saying this to say the man didn't exist. I'm not saying this to say I don't believe he didn't exist. I'm not even saying I don't believe in his miracles. I'm just saying they put it in a way that it just seems unobtainable for us. I want you to really think about that. That's all I'm gonna really speak on right now. You feel me? I'm just speaking on like, these is agreeable facts. You feel me? I got other stuff I could say, but this is just these are agreeable by what we've seen and what we have documented facts.